This is perfect. We are laughing before we have even started.
Yes. Or dancing.
Yes, dancing too. We should have, you know what? Maybe we should have a dance off at the end.
That would be awesome.
That would be really awesome.
That would be awesome.
Although, yeah, knowing me, I would bump into something and knock something over. Yes. Well, hello, ladies. We are live with you guys. It is Jamila here and a special guest who I'm going to have introduce herself in just a second. But we are here for week 4 talking about perfection. And our topic for today is, let's be real. You'll never be perfect, but that's okay. And so I am super excited to be here with you guys and for this to be a joint discussion. Woo! Because if you have been involved in the group, you have seen this lady's posts. She keeps us cracking up, and I actually just love her spirit. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell us a little bit about you.
That's a loaded question.
I know, it's a little dangerous, right?
That is
But tell us a little bit about yourself. And then maybe too, you can share with them too a little bit about how we actually met.
Absolutely. Okay. So, yay! And I'm loving this going, wait, where do I look?
I know. So the camera's there.
So just laugh.
So don't look at yourself. Look at the hole.
Laugh that this is about imperfection, perfection, as I like to call it. So know that I am laughing at myself and with myself, and which means saying it's okay. So this is going to be fun. But my name is Ralonda Dittmar, and if you hear my Southern, I am from Southern California, but I'm also originally from East Texas, so my Southern may come out a little.
Woohoo, Texas!
Woohoo, Texas! So representing both,
yes.
Texas and California, and gosh, let's say this journey of understanding about perfection, imperfection, the mess of life has been my life, been my journey. Sometimes I do it well, sometimes I do it face down on the floor, saying, "Lord, have mercy." But I think, let's say how we met.
Yes.
Sure. Good. And then I was wearing my perfectly imperfect.
Yes.
Or practically perfect.
Yes. Hopefully
in every way.
Shirt.
My little Mary Poppins reference, because actually it's one of my favorite movies, but it's one of my favorite sayings, especially to my brothers, to say I am practically perfect in every way. Knowing tongue-in-cheek that I'm not. But I like the illusion that, I say I am, especially to brothers. And if you have siblings, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But we met a year ago. We were at a conference. And for me, it was a women's conference. It was in Orange County, and part of Southern California. And Orange County kind of has a reputation of being very affluent. Yes. It is very affluent. Very, put together. You're talking picture perfect, model perfect people.
Oh yeah, beautiful. Long hair, gorgeous bodies, great outfits, designer handbags.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Not me. If I had my wallet, I'd be like, in here. It is empty. But we were at a conference, and that was a season of just truly. Last year and continuing just a season of loss. In 2017, within 6 months, I lost my job. I was unemployed. I lost my father, and then I was seriously injured in a car accident. So it was a series of losses, a series of things that hit on my identity, a series of things that really just hit my spirit, trying to stay motivated, but what does it look like when just life crumbles? And so we was at a conference, and really a women's conference, if you've gone to any kind of women's conferences, is this fact that usually questions get asked about your marital status, your child status, if you have children, and then what do you do? I'm coming in single, no children, unemployed. Scar! And in this body, that is beautiful, as we are all beautiful. But to walk into this mentality of a conference of, am I going to be myself? Can I be myself? Sitting in the back, as every good preacher's kid does, is sit in the back so you can leave.
Hide and sneak out.
Sneak out. So I did that. But to really, the temptation was to leave because I felt like, who am I? How can I come into this place? But the desire so much to stay, and the desire to be embraced with what was being taught, And what I didn't know is I would embrace a great friend and get to know people. And the conference in itself was a blessing.
Yeah.
So pushing myself out of my own fear of being perfect when I know there's no such thing here on earth, but just the willingness to have other people see me and my mess. I think I was even using a cane at that time from my injury. So it was just being vulnerable. Yeah. And that opportunity led to us.
Yeah. So. Well, and it's so funny because I feel like, I've known you for way longer than a year.
I grow on people.
Yes. Like fungus. She does. Beautiful fungus.
Beautiful fungus.
But I feel like I've known her for longer than a year, but I think the way in which we met is part of why that friendship has kind of grown, and it feels a lot deeper than, even some people who I maybe have known longer. And so I think it's really funny that, she basically told me that she wanted to have lunch, and I said, okay, great, come early and you can be on live with me. And I think you freaked out a little bit maybe to yourself.
I did. Yes.
What? Yeah. But after actually thinking about it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be perfect because you are a person who as I've gotten to know you, who is very transparent and is willing to actually share, how you're feeling. And I feel like that's something that I really am drawn to, genuine people. And I think that's exactly what we need to talk about today's topic.
Yes.
So before we go any further, our question for today is, how has God used your imperfections to show his power, his grace, or his love to others? Because one of the things that I want to get into is a lot of times we focus on our imperfections and how they affect our life. But we don't realize that sometimes God is using those in a positive way to influence other people. And so I hope that you'll reflect on that question as we're chatting. If you're watching live, feel free to answer in the comments. If you are watching the replay, answer that as well. And I'm going to kind of bounce back and forth from my computer to the screen in case I see any comments come in that we can address while we're live. But if you are watching the replay, please feel free to jump in the discussion because we will definitely answer and share with you guys. So one of the things that I wanted to share too about how Ralonda and I met and something that, I think I might have shared with her, but that it's funny how we come into these experiences like being at a women's conference where there's a lot of nervousness about, just how you're going to be perceived, especially if you go alone, right? And so she came to that conference by herself. I came with a girlfriend, but my girlfriend and I still walked in kind of like, ooh, I don't know how we're going to be perceived, and we had a lot of the same concerns and worries that Ralonda had. And it was funny because at this conference, I was actually also a speaker, and I literally, when I was packing, trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to wear, for this conference, I was like, okay, I am going to wear whatever makes me completely comfortable. And part of what makes me comfortable is actually really baggy clothing. And I know that probably sounds really random.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah. Because if you see pictures of me posted a lot of times that are on social media with, working on the boxes, I'm always wearing like leggings and a t-shirt because it's easy to get around in, right? But like normal every day, and when I have to stand in front of a group of people, I tend to try to find a tent that I can wear because I don't want anybody to like make judgments, right, based on my body or, oh, she's wearing something that's too short or too tight or too this or too that. And it's interesting because it's something I've actually done since high school. And people comment on it all the time. I actually bought a dress like 2 days ago for an event that I have to go to. And as I'm paying for it, the lady was like, is this for you? And I was like, yeah. She's like, did you try it on? And I was like, yeah, it's a little big, but it's the way that I like for it to fit. And she was like, okay. And I could just see it in her face. Like that doesn't make any sense. And, I think that a lot of what we're going to talk about today, some of it obviously has to do with those physical imperfections maybe on our outside. But I think that my kind of tent wearing actually reflects is how I feel imperfect on the inside. And so I want to get into that a little bit too, because I think that that's the part that we, when we fix that and when we work on that, then kind of the outside doesn't matter as much, or we're more comfortable with the outside and how, you know, we care a little bit less about how other people perceive us. So, a couple things that I want to make sure to get out there and say, because I'm sure if you joined us from the start and we were cracking up before the camera even started rolling, we will get off on a tangent and have a really good chat. Yes. But a couple things I want to throw in there before we go on our tangent is that, you know, this month, right? This month we've been talking all about how we aren't perfect, that Jesus is perfect, right? But we're made perfect through him. And it really is more about understanding and accepting that we're not perfect on our own, and that is okay. So we shouldn't have unrealistic expectations of how we look or how we behave or, you know, how we feel on the inside. Accepting our imperfections helps us to recognize that God has a reason that he's made us that way. And one of the things I want to make sure to say is that when I say that there's a reason why God's made us imperfect, it is not an excuse. So sometimes I say things like that, and I think sometimes it can be taken as like a fluffy, like, oh, it's okay that, you know, you're not good at this or you're imperfect in this area and don't worry about it. And that's not actually what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we have to show ourselves grace. It's okay that we're not perfect. It's not an excuse. If there's something in my life that I do need to work on, then I need to work on that, right? That is something that that we're called to continually renew our, you know, our mind and our spirit and work on those things in our life where we know that, you know, some improvement could be made. But we also can show ourselves grace because we know that we aren't perfect. If we were perfect, we would have no need for Jesus. And so a lot of times, I think that some people can take it to an extreme and use it as an excuse, and that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that our imperfections are normal, that God created us that way, and he knew before we were even born he was going to make us a certain way. And there is probably
a lot of conversation with God about that.
Exactly.
When we go to heaven.
Right? Yeah, I had
a little bit more height would have been great.
Yeah, don't get me started. I always wanted to be shorter.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yes. But anyways, so please jump into the discussion and let us know how God is using your imperfections or how you've seen him use your imperfections to show his power, his grace, or his love to someone else, or even you can share how he's done it to show his love to you. All right? Okay, so let's get back to the height thing for a second.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Just jump, or the shininess right now as we're talking about. I'm like, let's embrace it. Yeah. We're embracing. Yeah. That's,
no.
There's going to be a lot of hand movements because I'm here. Because I'm very...
We both talk with our hands. So, like, it's really funny. I think sometimes we... I wanted to kind of get into maybe a little discussion about the masks that we wear.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that in public, a lot of times we kind of put on this mask that we have it all together and that everything's okay. And so one of the, you know, there's strength that comes from actually being real and vulnerable about those imperfections that you have. And, you know, I'm not saying you need to go out and like post it all over, you know, the internet or, you know, screaming at the top of your lungs in your workplace, the stuff that you're not good at. But I think when you find community like this or good friends where you can actually be honest and share, it really does make a difference. So actually, let me ask you a question. Yeah, what is one imperfection that you wish you could change about yourself?
See, this is where I'm like, let's go. Let's get going. Oh, she's just... So when, I remember when you first asked me that question, I was walking and I was thinking, oh my gosh, do you want an alphabetical list? Do you want numerical? Do you want chronological? Do you want from the top down, outward, inner? I can give you the litany of all the imperfections. Yeah. And I think we all do that. I'm doing it right now as I'm looking at myself going, oh my gosh, my hair, the wrinkles right there. You know, just, we can pick out. We can just get all the little tangents on there. But as I was walking further, I started thinking, well, who decided that was an imperfection?
Yeah.
Who decided that the things that I don't like about myself, I can't fix my height. I'm the saddest day in the world when I had to do a test for jaw surgery, and there's a bone in your wrist that when it goes cartilage to bone, you stop growing.
Oh, wow.
So when I was 18, they said, you're done. And I'm like,
you're like, really?
Can we put me in the cooker a little bit longer so I can go a little bit higher? Yes, just a little bit. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But it's just thinking through, like, who gave this decision where my freckles or my redness that I have in my face or the texture of my hair, my nose, everything about me on down, my loudness of who I am.
Yeah.
Who decided that was an imperfection?
Right.
And then as I was thinking through more this past week, it really got even deeper to say, when did I allow them to have power over me?
Yeah.
When did I allow, whether it's what social media says, was everything that shows up on either Facebook or Instagram, and my friends that I love, and I start comparing. When did I allow what culture says? When did I allow, when did I give power? And really to take into the word of power.
Yeah.
Because I give power to something else to say who I am, or who I'm not. And how does the countenance change of my posture? I notice I start turtling. I do a physical turtle when I start looking at those imperfections and thinking through. And there's obviously stuff that I would love to, help improve. Thank God for little oil creams and things that help with some of the wrinkles, moisturizers. Yeah. But when I go deeper to say, what makes imperfection?
Yes.
Those are questions that we don't necessarily stop and ask ourselves.
Yeah.
And, just to sit with. And then we think through power. Who did you give power to? Why is the power of understanding who we are? We know what the scripture says, but we so much dismiss that. Yeah. I dismissed Psalms 139. I dismissed years and years and years of my life because I kept on saying, well, everybody else is fearfully and wonderfully made.
Right.
I got the leftover. I got the junk. Instead of really sitting and owning who I am, what I bring. Definitely areas of refinement. We all got some growth. Totally. I snort laughed. Oh my gosh. There you go.
Which is cute. That's not an imperfection. I think that's cute.
It's me. You either get a snort laugh, a person trying to gasp for air breath, or a loud honking geese laugh.
Usually I'm spitting water.
Exactly.
On people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just to go to a place where there is joy in understanding who we are. And when we say beautiful. So when Jamila, when she was introducing me last week, first of all, she was saying not want to call. She called me out.
I didn't want to say in case you chickened out and decided not to come on.
That's called out. Yeah. And then it was like she doesn't want to be embarrassed. And meanwhile, I'm watching it going, it's me! It's me! It's me! For those of you who saw the picture, that was me. That was me in the mall with my no makeup, no brush hair, no brush teeth, in my pajamas self.
At the mall.
Maybe
my kind of girl.
Exactly. Took a while to get there to embrace that part of me. Yeah. But it was when you were talking about even laughter or beautiful. Yeah. I found myself turtle. Yeah. I did turtle because I was like, oh, what if I don't measure up to what we were talking about? This description of me. What if I come on and I'm not the funniest thing ever. And I was trying to figure out how do I be funny? How do I be funny? How do I be funny?
Which she doesn't have to try to be funny.
But that's the thing, like, or just accepting the word beautiful. Yeah. And we do that so much as women, especially, but understanding being called beautiful. Yeah. Because we want to do the but. We want to say, but. Right. But look at my hair. But look at my face. But I'm not tall enough. But I'm, my weight. But this. And we want to dismiss what people are saying. Yeah. And I think when you talked about community, like I have people in my life who will try to stop me quickly. Yeah. And how I talk to myself. And we need that. But then we also need that we need to do that for ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, it's so important to have community. And we so need that. But we also need to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we're not willing to fight for ourselves and understand who we are and what we bring, our imperfect, crazy, crazy life, then why are we thinking, everybody, is all in the onus of everybody else to say it instead of being really focused on us?
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think
a little bit, let her talk.
Oh, girl. Well, no, and I think it's actually really good that you shared that because for me, the outward stuff is hard, but I literally, people call me the Post-it queen. Y'all can't see, but Ralonda can see my office. There's literally Post-its all over that wall.
Which is really exciting to see what's coming up.
She can say. Yeah. She can see all the other themes, so she won't read them to you.
No.
Surprise.
I mean, for $50, I will tell you all.
She's like, direct message me and I'll tell you what the themes for the rest of the year.
I'm so unemployed, need some money.
Right. We're going to pray for her to find a job. But what I was going to say is that I am a Post-it queen. So for me, I need reminders sometimes. Even though I know in my head, I need reminders. So I will write just what seem probably to other people corny things to myself on Post-its. Like, literally, do not worry about your hair. And I will put a Post-it on my mirror in my bathroom, and it will be there until I get to the point where I feel like I've gotten past that thing. I've done the same thing on the door of my closet. I've written on a Post-it, you have enough clothes, because, but for me, and I put it on my door of my closet, because what I realized is that I would spend, this is when I was working in an office, I would spend like an hour pulling out different outfits, feeling like I had nothing to wear. But at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with the clothes, because I have a lot of clothes. Yeah. It was actually me on the inside not feeling comfortable in my own skin. And so
true.
Right?
So true.
So like, one of the ways that's really good to just remind yourself is to write things on Post-its and put them up in places where you're going to see them. Now, my husband's used to my Post-its, so he just ignores them. I a lot of times will leave the Post-its up even when people come over. And so sometimes it can be funny because people will be like, what does this mean? Why does it say this on your refrigerator or on the back of your front door? But that's an opportunity to talk, right? And to be real and chat with your friends about things that are going on in your life. But don't be ashamed to find ways to keep yourself encouraged that are visual like that. And while you were talking, it was making me think. So I had asked what is one imperfection that she wishes she could change about herself. If I was to answer that question, I think for me, again, similar to what Ralonda said, I have a litany of outward physical things that I would share. But I want to share something that's inward for me, which I've shared a little bit about, but is just my ongoing battle with depression and anxiety. And I think, that's something that people can't necessarily see on the outside. So a lot of people don't realize, that I even have that challenge. A lot of people, most of my friends know because I'm pretty transparent, but there's people that I've worked with or people that just see me on a daily life or whatever, that would have no idea, especially because of what I do, for a living. But I think that it's something that makes me a lot of times feel very self-conscious and imperfect, because there are those times where I ask God, like, why did you make me this way? Why am I so sensitive? Why, when other people go through similar situations, they don't have such a hard time with this, type of thing, but I do? Why do I need to give myself emotional breaks and rest so that I can be, fully joyful and happy, but other people seem to be able to just power through different situations. And I've let that over the years a lot of times really kind of get in the way of me loving myself, because there are times where it does make me feel very, very, imperfect. So that's kind of one of the things that I've always wished I could change about myself. And if I had to sum it up, because I would say it's just me being so sensitive. As a kid, I was always the sensitive child. You know, you could say my dad could not even be yelling, or my mom could not even be yelling at us. It could just be them raising their voice slightly to tell us to, you know, clean our room or do our homework. Yeah. And I would just be in tears. And my parents are like the sweetest people on earth. So it's really funny to me now to look back on it and be like, why was I so sensitive? But now that I understand the, you know, the challenges that I have and that I face with, you know, with depression and anxiety, it makes more sense to me why I was always the sensitive child. But it's still an area of, you know, quote unquote imperfection that I battle with and I struggle with, and I do compare myself to other people, you know, in that. And so then I guess I would ask you, you know, thinking about what you shared, why do you think that God made you the way that you are? Is there anything that you see in yourself where you're like, I see why?
I see. I was going to say, good question. I think there's a lot of people who are like, why did God make you that? Here's the thing, and when you just shared as far as the internal imperfection, depression, anxiety, which I relate to because I struggle with that. For me, it's also being very self-critical. In that perfectionist way of not messing up or not having people see me lesser than, has been a huge thing. That's been an ongoing battle, is to be seen as less than, or not wanted. And that's an area just can hit. Last week when we talked about analysis paralysis, I was so related to that, because in that quest to do things, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do things well. I think it's important to do our best, to be our best, to look our best. But when it starts to overshadow the understanding of who we are, and then the messages that we talk about ourselves is that we're not enough, we're not good enough, we will never matter, you know, just the ongoing spiral that we can go into, that has just been my journey. And from early on, it's been that journey. And really, it's the same thing of giving, when I talked about power earlier, like, people can say, people who love me, people know me, they can say all good things, and there'll be one person. I still remember a kindergarten report, and I had this great conversation with a friend, a kindergarten report that said, man, Ralonda is really bright, really smart, she talks too much. For me, that is the voice sometimes that's in my head of, oh, be quiet, don't talk, watch what you say. And I took it as a negative. Right. So no, a friend of mine, she's like, I got that same thing. I took it as, yes, I am. I talk a lot. Do I need to work on, you know, for me, like taking it to, oh, that's an area to work on. I took it as extremely critical. Right. And that's the message that plays, instead of really taking focus and going, okay, what's the truth about it? How do I process that? You don't process that as a kindergartner. But it's that. And I think where God has used that, those areas for me is understanding. I don't think a lot of time to figure out. I am very, I'm loud. It's okay. I am loud. I will make my presence known. And there's times when I don't. There's times I want to hide, and I get so self-conscious that I want to run. And I notice in that moment that I am not being who God designed me to be. I was, from early kid, just being the one that just kind of, bam, I am here. Right. Let me call out stuff if I see things. You know, I this area that everybody has things together, I'm always the one that goes, no, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So I'm not feel like I'm the only one. So I think God designed this crazy, loud, rambunctious, dancing badly, but dancing, person who desires to call people out to honesty, and just call out authenticity. And I struggle, and for me to say, I got junk, I got stuff, I'm not perfect, I'm working on it, and I see where God uses me. Uses that just willingness, and then also to flip how the enemy has used it so much more to say, then I will stop, I will put things, doubts and everything in your head to desire you to stop. So I can stop. As you know, I mean, there's some things that I've been thinking of for years, and wanting to do, or wanting to go out there and share with others. and the doubts will come in, and where I see God wanting to bless who I am, I see the enemy wanting to come in and going, let's put doubts, let's put a stop. And he brings up all those imperfections of, oh, what if you don't do it well? Oh, what if da da da? And so, God using the gifts that he gave me of compassion, of tearing down walls, of calling stuff for stuff, even my weird humor.
It's not weird.
It takes special people to understand. Let's just say it is.
Yes, girl. So I think that, first of all, again, I love what you shared because, and one of the things that I really identify with, and that hopefully this will actually really help you guys look at imperfections, with my air quotes, from different angles. So one of the things that I was involved in my last job before starting Loved and Blessed was basically like coaching and professional development. And in that, one of the things that I always look at with different people is actually not only what areas of improvement, right, or their weaknesses and those skills that they need to develop, but also the things that they're good at, and how sometimes the things that we're really good at actually become an impediment or an issue for us. And in all transparency, I'll share for me, in doing kind of my own professional development and working with someone who kind of looked at like, where are all my skills and what are the things that you're really good at and what do you need to work on? What's really funny is the one thing that came up that is actually something that I'm extremely talented in, but that actually causes issues because I basically overuse it sometimes, is communicating. And so they were like, you know what, that is the skill that you have that is amazing, that you are a really good communicator. But what that also means is that when I over communicate, then I use a million words when I could have said something in 5 words, right?
Yes.
I'm working on it, y'all. I get super excited, and so sometimes I talk over people, not because I'm trying to be rude, but because I'm super excited and I'm just talking, and then I realize like, oh, this other person who maybe is quieter than me, right, or not as loud as us, it hasn't been able to get a word in edgewise, right? And so I think that that's kind of the way we have to look at our imperfection, is that it's actually kind of a beautiful mix of like, our imperfections are also the things that make us special, you know, and in knowing you, it's like the rambunctiousness and the sense of humor and the, the talking and the dancing and the laughing and the, like, those are the things that make you someone that I want to spend time with, right? Those are the things that put people at ease when they're around you. And so they probably feel like, I know I do, but they probably feel like they can share what's really going on in their life because you're that way, right? And so it's like those things that the enemy tries to tell you are, imperfections that you need to tone it down. You need to, like you said, turtle and get in a shell and pretend like, I'm, not say anything. Or, we started off this talking about how we met and going to a conference and walking into a room and feeling like you kind of have to hide in the back. Or me wearing a big tent dress because that's my way of hiding, is under this dress. I'm just going to wear this big baggy dress. And so that's the way that a lot of times we allow the enemy to try to dampen our fire, right? Something I've been working on a lot this year, I have a group of friends that are kind of in a prayer group, and one of the things that was brought up was how a lot of us dim our light. And it's like it's like if you think of a light on a switch, with the dimmer, right? And it's like God's given us all this stuff, and then the world sometimes makes us think that it's, not enough, or that we're, doing it wrong, or we don't measure up. And so we start turning that dimmer down on our light. And so that's one of the kind of mantras that's been in my head all year is don't dim your light. And I can feel myself doing it sometimes when I'm talking, and I stop myself because I feel like I'm talking too much, or I, don't say something because I'm sorry, pause there. Someone was calling me. So I think that there are those times where we have to remind ourselves not to dim our light.
Absolutely. When I was thinking through, so analogy that came to mind, and hi, Cindy, by the way.
Yeah. Hi, Cindy. I'm reading your comments so we can reply.
Yes. So I love the beach. It's one of the places that for me, that's my respite. That's my just love. And a few years ago, everywhere I'm around in my place is there's shells, and in my bathroom there's actually this collection. I wanted sand dollars, and I don't know for all of you if you may or may not collect sand dollars, but I was on this hunt. I heard from my friends about finding all these massive sand dollars, and even seeing them in their place, and just wanting those, and especially the perfect sand dollar, the whole sand dollar. And it was a few years ago, and I was looking around, going to the beach, and having a conversation with God, because this journey of understanding who I am, the struggle of who I am, the wanting to really embrace and love on a regular basis of who I am, what I bring to the world, not letting myself turtle, not looking at the things I need to improve on, because those are important, making plans, but also say what's to improve, but what am I trying to copy? If I look at someone and I'm inspired by somebody, that's one thing. If I'm looking to copy them, or if I'm looking to try to make me them,
right.
I'm trying to replace me, and that's not who God designed. Multiple people the same, and so just understanding that uniqueness. But I was on the beach and I was crying out to God, and even, I don't know if for any of you have done this, your prayers like, God, if you love me, you'll give me the whole sand dollar. I mean, I was trying to hustle. God. I was trying to hustle God. Like, if you love me, you would give me, and it would be the biggest sand dollar that you would ever see. Because everybody else has some. I don't have one. And again, comparison and blessings. Like blessings, all this tangible stuff. And I was finding sand dollars, but they were broken or mixed. Or I would find one that looked whole, and I would be all excited, and I flip it over, and there's a little, hole in it. And just still processing how that was relating to my own life.
Wow.
And I was like, Lord, I feel like I am broken. I feel like I am a mess. I feel like I am not having anything to contribute. And everybody's wanting perfect sand dollars. And I'm not perfect. And just, what does that look like? And no one else is perfect either.
Yeah.
I remember this quote years ago from the singer Ralonda Adams, and she talks about our comparison, and what we don't know is someone's dressed up mess.
Yes.
And this mentality that, people think that they have it together, but you don't know. You don't know what they're all going on.
I'm very good at dressing up my mess.
Yeah, and unless I try, and then my mess just goes, woohoo! So it's out there for the world. As this video will be. But anyway, I remember just continuing, and I still picked up the sand dollars, still picked up the remnants, and still in that quest, and all the time just praying out to God, and finally, I was like, I'm actually, it's okay. Look at these. There's still some disappointment. I'm like, Lord, I really would one day like to get that perfect sand dollar. But just understanding the beauty. I've started to find the beauty in the brokenness. And I know that can sound cliche and, a great song getting ready to be played out through it. But, but it really was understanding this beauty of the brokenness and just looking at the different patterns and different things that were happening. And I was actually getting ready to leave and be like, okay, Lord, I need to sit with that brokenness. And I ended up going a little ways and found the whole sand dollar, which was great. It was small. God's going,
I'll give you a little
You get a little bit. You get a little bit for your patience, and you're trying.
It's like, all right.
Give you a big one. Okay. But even that, so I just have it on top of, all the broken shells. Yeah. Because it's just that reminder that the beauty of that brokenness, and it's not cliche, it's just understanding who we are, understanding what we bring, understanding our imperfections, for letting God to say, use me, use whatever part of me, use me as I'm growing. I'm not the same person that I was when I was younger, thank God. There are some things when I was younger that I'm like, where is that person now? Where is that tenacious person that just did not let anything matter? When did she change? And to kind of go into different moments of really seeing, like, where's my brokenness? What is God trying to do? What are the strengths that He brings? When do I allow, like, going past these past weeks, the concept of beauty, or looking at analysis process? When do I go from letting me get deterred from where God's wanting to use. And we so often do that. We go, oh my gosh, it's not perfect. Let me, I won't venture out into whatever God may be doing in our life. Or I won't engage with getting to know someone, because what if they see my mess? Or what if we're talking with people and all they do is point out our mess? Yeah. And why are we still in that conversation with them? Exactly. The strength to go, I know it. I'm just going to leave now because I don't need you to constantly. But it's all those elements that are just those reminders, and we have to remind. Again, we have to have others in our lives to remind that, but we need to remember it for ourselves. Yeah. And I say that going, I do not have it all figured out. Yeah. I totally do not have it all figured out. None of us do. That's why I did the PS on the picture that I posted to our group. I really did. When I posted the silly picture of me, in my reality-ness, because I didn't want people to say, oh, well, she's got it all together. I mean, if you think that was all together, but to say, oh, she doesn't have any problems. To put that PS and say, I am taking this cheesy pic, being out in my no makeup self, no whatever self. But what you don't know, because it was right before a second interview, what you don't know is I was going through so many self-doubts. Yeah. I was going through struggle. I was surrendering so much to God in that conversation as I'm walking around in my craziness, in my I don't care about anything, I am me, hear me roar. I was still battling internally. Yeah. And that's the thing, we don't know, and we want to be able to share. And that's why I think it's so important, and I'll be quiet. Like, whether it's conferences, whether it's topics like this, it's what so much I love about you. The things that you share and the things that you write about. But what's the stories that get told? Yeah. Are all the stories, do all the stories that get told, do all the pictures get told? And you even look at magazines now, they're going for the unfiltered beauty within thing. But that's also relative. Yeah. I see a lot of unfiltered, and like natural beauty that it's really funny because it's not actually natural. Yeah. I'm like, they're still wearing makeup. Yeah. They still photoshopped the picture. I know. But anyways, that's a whole other. We'll go. But it's just that mentality of that I just forgot. Yeah. See, and I interrupted you. Just it was so good. It was so poignant, and I messed it all up. My fault. I really don't remember. So anyway, if it comes back to her, she'll interrupt me. But I think that's actually a good lead-in, because I think one of the things that I was thinking as you were talking is that is literally how he is using your imperfections, air quotes, to show his grace and love to other women. The fact that you posted that picture of yourself in the group, pajamas and all, it gives someone else courage to, and some of you guys might have been like, really? You went out of the house in your pajamas and you didn't brush your teeth? She is definitely not from Texas. Why is she doing that? Right. I have done that plenty of times, so I can totally identify. And some of you guys would never, ever, ever do that, and that's okay too. But I think the point is that, the fact that she was comfortable enough to share that with us hopefully encouraged someone else that they don't have to be perfect all the time, even when we were talking about this, and, she was like, okay, all right, I'll come down early, and, we'll do this before we go grab lunch. And, she was like, oh, do you want to, is there something specific you want to talk about? Like, should we have a plan? And I was like, oh, I'll have a general outline, but I like to just have natural, conversations, because I think that that's what's really real. Yeah. And that's really what, obviously we want to continue to foster and grow in this community. And my thought first was, oh my gosh, but what if I'm not perfect? Talking about perfection. Yeah. That's, I was like, they'll show us grace. It's okay. Yeah, it's totally fine. Funny. Yeah. But and I would say for me, going back to what I was sharing earlier about, one of my imperfections that I have a hard time with, as far as depression and anxiety, I oftentimes, when the enemy starts to try to use that to deter me or to discourage me, I often remind myself, but if I didn't have those challenges, I wouldn't be who I am. I think, right? I think there's things about the way that I relate to other people, the way that I can empathize or sympathize, the way that I listen is very much influenced by the way that I feel.
And I think that that's something that I'm grateful for, you know, and that's something that I know that God is using and has used, especially in those times where I can feel that anxiety really, really, really bad.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Lord, what is it that you're trying to do right now? You know, I know He did not give me a spirit of anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I am not, you know, trying to warp any sort of scripture to explain my anxiety. But what I'm trying to say is that in that challenge, because we all have challenges, He still can get glory, and He still gets glory out of it. And so I just want, you to be encouraged in that, that He definitely still gets glory out of it. So if you are joining us live or if you are watching the replay, again, our question for today is, how has God used your imperfection to show His power, His grace, or His love to others? And so I would love for you to answer that. We're going to probably start to wrap up soon, because we could sit here and talk for hours.
There's so many.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much we could say. Was there anything else on your mind?
My little notepad.
Well, no, I just wanted, if you have, because, you know, since I cut off your poignant thought earlier.
That's true. And I have been trying to think about that.
I'm going to be quiet for a minute.
No. But no, I think I was trying to say is really, what is the narrative? What are the narratives that get highlighted? And it's, you know, authenticity and vulnerability. Those are big buzzwords that continue, you know, everywhere, not just in Christian setting.
Right.
But it takes a lot to do that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. And you talked about we're talking about the beauty, the natural beauty, and you're like, yeah, but they have the lights, they have the filters. And I remember one time I was trying to do a filter on the phone, and it's supposed to take things away. And I honestly, I took a photo, and I started taking everything away. I took my wrinkles and my freckles and tried to fix my nose. And,
oh my gosh.
And try to whiten my teeth and give me more lips and give, you know, everything. And I was looking at it, and I ended up becoming this person I didn't recognize because I was just removing everything that was me. Yeah. And plus I couldn't. The funniest thing, I couldn't figure out what I was doing, so it ended up being morphed, and so it was even like scrunched face look,
which is actually pretty interesting.
Which at that moment I was thinking, I am so thankful even for that, because it was getting so ridiculous of what I was trying to do, because in it was also fueling the stuff that was going on in my life, and talking about, and people that was, you know, in their thoughts, that came into my thoughts of who I want to be like. And all this time, it was getting so manipulative of what I was trying to do to the face on the filter, that it became comical. Yeah. Because I was so much trying to be. Who is that chick? I know. I was like, no. We're gonna delete it. Even delete the. Yeah. I mean. Yeah. I do like the retouching. I mean, let's just face it. Retouching apps are great. But again, it took I morphed it in such a way that retouching became replacing. Yeah. And then that's the stuff that we should pause about. Yeah. Why, when we want to replace the things the good thing and the things that are struggle. I mean, obviously, there's some things in our life we may need to replace for the health of who we are and the health of as a Christian. And but just overall, when we're trying to just remove ourselves out of the picture. That becomes the thing to really look at more deeply. Yeah. That's the time to sit and we don't like to sit in that stuff. We don't like to sit in our imperfections, but to actually sit in it and to have really the questions that we ask ourselves. You know, what's the narrative? What's the story? What are the things that we tell ourselves? And then wrestle that with the truth, wrestle that with people, give that to, obviously, first and foremost to God, to the truth of who we are. And then to say, how can this be used? Yes. So when we talk about the imperfection being used, so how can we use who we are, and all of our ness, whatever our ness is, that's hilarious. Our craziness, our busyness, our anxiety-ness. I'm just adding words and making up words. That's what I do.
That's why we're friends, because I like to make up words.
That's it. But anyway, that's the thing that shows love for ourselves. Yeah. Is when we get to know, love God who created us, but then love love ourselves and who we bring. Not just physical. Not just talking the physical, but I'm also talking about our personalities and our strengths and what all we bring and our weaknesses. I mean, those are some things that are important too.
Absolutely. So. Well, and I think that I'm gonna throw out a challenge to you guys. I just thought about it while I was sitting here listening. Challenge. Yes, you're gonna laugh because it's gonna be the Ralonda challenge. So
I say that, and then she's gonna say it. You're gonna see my face go. Really?
No, so I think that, obviously within this group, it's a private group, so nobody else outside of the group can see the posts or, share them, so don't worry. But I would love for you all, anyone who feels so inclined, to take this challenge, and you can either post in the group or just do this on your own. But I really would challenge you to pick, for the next 3 days, to actually do something that's outside of your comfort zone as it relates to your imperfections. And so when I say that, if you're, like me, and maybe you have certain outward things that you are self-conscious about, whether it's the way you look or, your clothes or whatever. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is, and I've actually done this, so clothing, let's take that as an example. If you're like me and you find yourself getting dressed in the morning and then getting redressed and then spending a lot of time hemming and hawing over what you're going to wear and, what jewelry you should wear and which shoes and which bag do I carry, I would love for you to take the next, 3 days or the next week even, and actually just wear the first thing that you put on. Even if you feel uncomfortable after you've put it on, if you realize like, ooh, well, these other shoes might work better. Wear whatever the first thing is that you put on. And I know that might sound simple, but mentally it's actually hard. Yeah. Right? Because you find yourself, right? You can be completely dressed and ready to go, and then on the way out of the house be like, oh, I should change my sweater because this other one matches better, or might change my shoes. So I'm going to challenge you to do that. If makeup is something that you spend, if you really feel like you could not leave the house without, some makeup. My mother always says, I need a lick of makeup, maybe not a full face, but just like a lick of makeup. If that's a challenge for you, I want you to take the weekend off. Don't wear any makeup this weekend. That includes going to church on Sunday. Like, don't wear any makeup. Just try it. Because you'll actually be surprised. I think it's very freeing, and you'll be surprised because I think a lot of us assume that if we walk out of the house without makeup on, that people are gonna like freak out and run and scream from us, because we're so used to what we look like with makeup on. But I think that that's part of the issue, is that we allow ourselves to fall into these traps of thinking that that's what we have to look like, or that's, that is what we look like. You're talking about the filters and, taking these photos and how they can be retouched these days. And it's like, but we forget what we actually look like. And so, those are a couple of things that I would love for you guys to do. If you want to post a picture of yourself without makeup in the group, that would be awesome. Or just come back and let us know, I took the challenge and this is what happened, or this is how I felt. I'd love for us to kind of continue the conversation with that, because I think that it's good to have these conversations, but then we have to take some sort of action. And I think that that's the thing. We can't, we know it in our minds, but it's like, okay, on a day-to-day basis, when those feelings of not being enough or of insecurity or of imperfection come up, what are we doing to combat it? So like I said earlier, sharing of the, writing yourself a Post-it and putting it in a place where you're going to see it, that's going to remind you that, you are beautiful, you are enough just the way that you are, that you don't need makeup, that you don't need, y'all, some of you know I'm a recovering shopaholic, that I don't need to go out and buy a new dress or new shoes or a new whatever in order to go to this event. That I have something in the closet that I can wear, that's just my own imperfections on the inside. And the same thing with any emotional imperfections, when I was sharing about depression and anxiety, finding ways, again, to remind yourself in the moment that everything is going to be okay, and that those thoughts that you're having aren't necessarily always true, right? Some of those imperfections that we have in our minds don't actually exist. They're just kind of what we've been taught, like you said, either consciously or subconsciously by, society and the pictures that we see and the even speeches that we hear people make. And it sounds like they have their life all together and, behind the scenes, right? They've got all kinds of issues going on. So yeah, I would just challenge you to think about actionable, things that you can do. And if you have something on your heart and you're like, this is what I really battle with and I have no idea where to start, in working on that, I would love for you to post it in the comments, and both of us will reply, and I'm sure other ladies in the group will reply as well with any encouragement or ideas or tips that we might have. So I wanted to kind of wrap us up today, just reminding you that you are God's masterpiece. We know that we read that in God's word in Ephesians 2:10. But really, I want you to think about the fact that your imperfections are a sign of his love for you. And again, I'm not saying that, certain things in our lives that are, that we don't need to work on those things, that we aren't in a process of growth. But he's put those things there so that we can draw closer to him, so that we can come to him and say, all right, Lord, why did you make me this way? Why do I have to be like this? Right? It's okay to ask him those questions. He has a sense of humor. He does care about you, and he will start to kind of, as you ask those questions and ponder them and you search his word for answers, he will bring things to mind, and you'll have kind of those aha moments as you go along your life during, normal days, and you'll kind of be like, oh, that's why you made me like that, or like, oh, it actually helps that I'm this way in this situation. And you start to realize and appreciate those things about yourself and really love yourself more and love the things that make you imperfect, because ultimately they draw you closer to him. And in a lot of ways, they help to draw you closer to other people. And so, again, if you are just tuning in or you've missed part of this, please go back and watch this from the beginning, because a lot of what Ralonda shared, it really does kind of, it really brings me to that point of like, our friendship in some ways is bonded by our imperfections, because that's kind of, that's where it started.
Where it began.
Right? So I just thank you guys. Thank you, Cindy, and everyone else who has joined us live. Please continue to comment, and we'll continue this discussion throughout the week. And I am super excited, as always, to chat with you guys again next week. Next week, we will be starting our new topic. I will not tell you what it is. Some of you all may have already received your box, or your box might still be in the mail and on its way to you. When I tell you that God literally poured words after words after words into my heart for this box, he really did. So when you receive it, it will all make sense to you as to why I keep saying that. A lot goes into these boxes, and just writing a lot of, the devotion, and then other, pieces that go into this. But in this particular box, God really showed up and just went above and beyond what I expected. And so I really hope that some of what he poured into me actually touches you, and truly, truly makes a difference and helps you to stay encouraged no matter what you might be facing right now. So I want to thank you again for joining me. We'll have to force her to come down and drive down here and visit again, or we can always do a live chat if we can get our technology to work properly, and split screen from your house.
That would be added fun.
Yeah, to talk some more. So if there are any questions that you guys have for Ralonda even, please let us know. And please keep her in prayer. You guys see her prayer requests sometimes in the group. She shared some of the things that have gone on in her life in the last year or so. But let's be in prayer for her health, for her just financial stability, also for her job search. Just there's so many things that I'm sure a lot of you can relate to.
So many issues.
I so did not mean it that way. Oh Lord, I so didn't mean it that way. We'll have another session where I list all my issues. So yeah, but let's be in prayer for her, and I just want to thank her for saying yes, because I know coming on camera is a hard thing for a lot of us to do. I still get nervous sometimes, so it's it's a hard thing. Okay. Are you fixing your hair?
Yes.
So that's the perfect way for us to end. So yeah, please keep her in prayer. But if there is anything that you want to ask her too, feel free to ask it in the group. And if we get some good questions or topics coming up, yeah, we might have her share a little bit more with us on another video. You never know.
There you go.
Oh, and actually, big thing to keep in prayer for this one is she is also a writer, and she needs to start her blog.
She just called me out.
Yes, I'm calling her out. So be in prayer that at the right time, at God's ordained time, she would feel the urge to actually do it and get it going.
No more analysis paralysis. That's
all right.
So, thank you. Thank you.
So, all right.
All right.
Thank you guys for joining us, and I will see y'all again next week. Bye.
Bye. You're so cute.